So I went to Utah, I found my happy place, loved what I was doing. And then, just when I thought that everything was, gonna stay a certain way, and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm gonna be, this is the next chapter of my life, I met a woman that wrecked my plans, basically. But yeah, went to Utah and I got off all those drugs and found my happy place. There's other parts of that story that need to be probably touched on as well, because there's one thing in particular that's important as far as me getting off all those drugs, and we can talk about that if you want to go there.
It's your first one.
Yeah, I think it's time. This is your magazine, your people. It's mainstream readers. Yeah, it's not a Christian audience. You might have some Christians that read, but it's a mainstream rock and metal.
I think that, for example, I'm Christian. He's not.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
We are Christians. We're focused in music. So.
Understand. The reason is I'm going to share something with you that people close to me all know this, and maybe even some fans have figured it out, if they're paying attention. But it's nothing I've talked about. But it's something I'm going to talk about more and more in the upcoming months and the upcoming years, I hope, because I would like to be a part of a small part of a movement in this thing. I believe that there needs to be activists for this, like people that will take their mild celebrity or whatever, their stories, and talk about why it needs to be continued to be opened up the way it is. Basically, my little preface here is this. I was on a fuckload of drugs and was surely going to die. And I finally met a doctor who had a different approach. And he suggested cannabis. Cannabis has been, for me, and it didn't happen right away. I had to experiment. I needed time, and I had to learn how to dose myself properly. I had to learn what strands to use for this or for that. Some strands are particularly good for sleep, some strands are particularly good for anxiety, some strands are particularly good for pain, all kinds of things. And go on, the list goes on and on and on. But in my case, as I would say with anyone who has been suggested by a doctor to consider it as alternative medicine, it takes a little time to learn how to use it. And so it took some time, and I learned how to use it, and I learned how to make it a part of my daily bread, basically. It's part of my life, and I would love to be in a situation where I didn't need anything. But in my case, and the man I am today, and the man that you see here sitting in front of you, he wouldn't see this right now without it, and that's true. It quite literally got me out of the house. Cannabis literally reconnected me with people, with myself first and foremost, with people, with the world, with all the things that I had learned to hate and fear and all this stuff. It just, it has become for me it's part of my DNA at this point. It keeps me basically who I am. Keeps me the version of myself I like to be. That's really the best way. There's a lot of different versions of all of us. We can all be monsters, My monsters in particular have some pretty fucked up things going on, and I just want to keep them at bay. And it is for me, cannabis has been the one thing I've ever found that can help me control a monster. And it
saves people, and I believe that it can actually save people.
It's and they're going to learn more and more about it over the next 5 to 10 years, I think. But at this point, there's massive amounts of data and evidence on every level that have proved that this is helping here, it's helping here, and it's helping here. The proof is in the pudding, as you say, as well. The fact is I'm not saying it's for everyone. I would never say that. There's people who should never smoke it, and should never ingest cannabis. They're just the wrong type of personality for that stuff. Some people just would never need it. And there are plenty of super uptight people, really uptight people. Let's say, typically, I've known a lot of people that have experimented with cannabis and say, ooh, it's not for me. It's not for me. It makes me paranoid. It makes me feel paranoid and too self-conscious about things. Typically, people that react that way to cannabis are people that have control issues, people that are micromanaging all these elements of their life. Cannabis is one of those things, it's quite literally to put you in touch with those things that aren't those other things, those things that are more natural, organic things, real connections. For me itself, like I said, I won't put a blanket statement on this, but for me, in itself, cannabis has been a gateway to myself again. a bit of the boy I was, a bit of the young man that I hope to be, and it's definitely, I'm a closer version to the old man I always hoped I'd be. And somewhere in between I just got lost along the way. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm thankful that there is a medication I can take that doesn't have all those crazy side effects like destroying your life, you know. So,
So that
You,
takes us
you
up.
did it after all.
that's right.
You picked it.
So that's what happened. Basically, I went to Utah, lived with a bunch of Mormons, and coached their kids, and learned how to take care of my own medication, you know. But it became very dangerous for me to be there. It's Utah. It's Utah, and I was using cannabis on the hour. It's what it's like smoking cigarettes, you know. I use it all day long, and I'm teaching kids. And some of those kids have parents deeply connected in the church, have cops, you know, parents, stuff like that. My father lived there, so forth. I did not get to the point where I felt like, man, this is just being irresponsible. I'm in a state that it's illegal. You know, I'm not living in California, I'm living in Utah at that point. A state that it's illegal, and I feel like I'm jeopardizing the legacy of people that believe in me here and so forth. And I don't want to leave. I don't want to be Coach Eric getting busted for weed. You know what I mean? That's It's like, you don't want to leave a bunch of little Mormon kids that love you. You know, you don't want to leave 80 kids going, oh man, Coach Eric got busted for weed. That's, yeah. So basically, that was one of the, I realized I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. And that's connected to the falling in love thing. And combination of circumstances, I met a woman that I felt deeply in love with, and I wanted to be with her.
You met her in the Netherlands.
I did. While smoking some good grass during the theater equation. Yeah, that's right.